Hello and welcome to the collapse experiment. Yeah, it's still a little cold in here. I'm waiting for the wood burning stove to heat up. For some reason, it taketh a while. Fortunately, I brought some nice hot tea with me. Some green jasmine. We're not here to talk about caffeine, no. We're going to be talking about nicotine. Nicotine as a nootropic? What? This shouldn't be any surprise to people who have favorite authors of the previous century, because nobody seems to imbibe in nicotine products anymore. Although, from what I understand, the latest Generation Z, is really because of things like vaping. Although a lot of them are trying to cut vaping as well and have started to resort to Zen packs. I don't necessarily know what these are. They look like chewing tobacco, but I believe it's just like straight nicotine that which, hey, if that's your thing, cool. I know of a lot of people that used to use Nicorette in order to stop smoking because for some reason they would stop with the cigarettes because they're like, hey, it's, bad for my lungs. Lung cancer doesn't really sound like a fun thing. And as somebody who witnessed a lot of people going through things like lung cancer, when I worked on a cancer floor, that's no way to go, okay? There's better ways to go out than that. It's long, it's painful, it's just torture. And the chemo, yeah. Well, for one, in the United States, for some reason, it's basically a death sentence. Lung transplant. Now, they'll remove a lung, you don't get a new one. So that's another downside. What exactly they put in that cavity, the empty space in your chest, when they remove something like that, I have no idea. Don't really want to know. But scientifically, and there hasn't been too many studies on this, but let's take a look at history as well. For some reason, a recent study shows that, for one, nicotine can actually help you mentally focus on things. Strange, right? You ever see those people that are working on a paper and they're able to just keep plugging away? Journalists, all sorts of people used to be chronic chain smokers, especially when they were working. Writers as well. Ever notice the Lord of the Rings, Tolkien? He enjoyed a pipe. And I've tried some of the pipe tobacco that he enjoyed. I can understand why he enjoyed smoking it. C.S. Lewis, as well, a pipe smoker. Did it have anything to do with beer? Probably not. They did enjoy their beer, though. Stephen King, back when he was writing some of his craziest crap, Cujo, The Stand, Carrie, go on and on. It, although it has its own issues besides him being a chain smoker, there's some things in that book that I'm surprised ever got published and should be illegal. However, there's one thing that a lot of these writers, including Kurt Vonnegut, the last years of his life, contemplated the idea of suing tobacco industries because you guys promised me an early grave. Why am I still here? Apparently he didn't want to be around anymore when he got old. But no, they're finding that nicotine by itself, depending on how you take it, can actually increase your mental clarity, your ability to focus. Not too familiar if it involves the flow state that a lot of people try to get from other nootropics. However, one of the fascinating things and why I decided to make this video is that they found that the neuroreceptors in the brain for the proteins that induce certain later in life illnesses such as Alzheimer's disease don't take place. Like, it actually reduces your chances of contracting diseases like Alzheimer's disease. So if you're in your 70s and 80s and you somehow ingest nicotine, the odds of you getting Alzheimer's disease, according to this study, are reduced. Now, why do we have a rise in Alzheimer's disease at the same time that everybody quit smoking? Is that to say that, like, well, we should risk lung cancer, mouth cancer, throat cancer, and all kinds of other cancers by taking nicotine in certain ways in order to make sure that we don't lose our minds in the last years of our life? Is there a trade there that we're supposed to be considering? Well, now we have all these alternative ways of getting the same chemical that we're talking about here without the formaldehyde in the papers for rolling papers, for cigarettes. We don't have to worry about the pesticides that are used in all of these massive crops that are used for some of these products that are just mass produced. The fiberglass. Why is it fiberglass? Who thought of using fiberglass? Why fiberglass for the filters? Whose brilliant idea was that? Now, there are some writers today that actually talk about how there's this connection between their ability to write and the use of nicotine in this endeavor. One of them being the writer, the UK writer, Will Self. Kind of difficult guy to look up because of his pen name that he chose. I understand that. You look up Will Self, you're going to get Will Smith as an alternative spelling. Like, did you mean this guy who slaps people on a stage for talking shit about his wife who's been cucking him for years? Not that dude. No, this is a very tall, very English individual who enjoys walking long distances while enjoying a fag or two. Not a derogatory term, that is what they refer to as the cigarette. He also wrote a book called The Butt. That referring to certain things that you might find on Cornhub and other websites, but no, the butt of a cigarette, which the whole book is basically, I don't know, an ode, a love story to this thing that he enjoys, that he just can't get rid of. Mark Twain, of which I have his entire collection over here, the Mark Twain collection, one that he was selling towards the end of his life, which includes a nice printed version of his signature. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those lucky people that actually has a signature of Mark Twain, but even he tried to quit smoking cigars. He loves cigars. In his early life, he would buy a bag of pipe tobacco. And one of his fondest memories when he was younger was being on a wagon going across the Midwest, the Great Plains, on an adventure where all he had was a corncob pipe and a bag of pipe tobacco, and just seeing where his adventure took him. Later on, the dude was constantly going from one cigar to another, the cheapest cigars that he could find. Definitely not the brand that is named after him, which In the world of cigars, yes, they're cheap. Is this something he would have smoked? No, that would have been too expensive for him. The dude actually, in his life, did not make a whole hell of a lot of money from his writing career. But the one thing that he did notice was that if he wasn't smoking, he could not write. I don't know if it was like a hand thing or, he had to have something over here in order to do his thing because he's sitting down like, nope, this sentence needs to be corrected here. I don't know. But what we do know now, the research is telling us nicotine helps people focus. Who knew? Hollywood. Perhaps it wasn't the white powder in the 80s that made all those movies great. Perhaps it was the fact that everybody was chain smoking as well. I don't know. I'm not promoting it. I'm just saying something happened between the 90s and now to where a lot of creative endeavors for a lot of people for some reason went to crap. However, I will say, Will Self, I still love his books. And guess what he's still doing? Are the two connected? I don't know. But I find a lot of this fascinating. And yes, I am biased because I do like to indulge in a certain activity with a certain briar instrument that has less chance of giving me something horribly bad, but I still get the effects of this nootropic that I am discussing. So, am I encouraging this behavior if you're conscious of your health? No. If it's something you enjoy, by all means, it's legal, right? I mean, there's certain other things that are legal that I'm finding to be more self-destructive to society and people's lives other than this. And I don't understand this weird chronic vilification of this drug that we're now learning could potentially have life-changing effects for individuals if they just got it a certain way other than the traditional method that people have been doing it for decades, centuries. I also find it interesting that the chances of somebody getting a disease like lung cancer were highly increased after certain ways of the briar, right, were exchanged for something else. Perhaps the old ways were best. I don't know. And perhaps the new ways, outside of vaping, are a nice alternative to what we had lost. Keep on typing.